Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, we're going to cover a report on backstage negativity in AEW.
A former Intercontinental Champion signed a new WWE deal.
Are WWE looking to make more house show cuts?
And Tony Khan explains Ric Flair's AEW contract. I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
Kick this one off by talking about AEW. Little report on the backstage situation over there and some negativity going on in the company. It's from Dave Meltzer. It's from Wrestling Observer Radio. Let's talk about it. Let's go through this. There's a lot to cover here. But yeah, Dave, when he speaks to people backstage in AEW, he's getting negative vibes a lot of the time. Why is this? Well, there's a bunch of different reasons. One thing that's mentioned is ticket sales, which are down year over year in most markets the company heads to. And this past week's episode of Collision is cited as an example. 2,258 fans.
Oh yeah, they taped that last night, didn't they?
Well, this is last week's one.
Oh, okay.
So the show that had, last week's Danielson, all of the
Yeah,
Kingston.
not great.
Yeah, not a great crowd by any metric. They also note that Kevin Sullivan's dismissal as Vice President of Post-Production has caused a few bad vibes as well. People are surprised and unhappy about that, contributing to the feeling that AEW is changing, which has been mentioned several times in several different reports. Former WWE executive Michael Mansouri made the call to let Sullivan go, and there's a sentiment in AEW apparently that AEW brought this guy in from WWE and gave him the ability to get rid of Sullivan, which fueled some existing WWE-related tensions in the company. Within AEW, there's a feeling of ex-WWE people coming in and taking spots from people who've been there since day one.
So it begins.
Apparently, Meltzer likened the situation actually to the Outsider storyline versus AEW Originals, which was on TV, but apparently it's now a real backstage thing as well. Now there's even more stuff here. AEW's large talent roster has created a shortage of TV time availability, which has caused some problems as well. Brian Alvarez went, hey, are you talking about Britt Baker here? Because she's tweeted about not getting live promo time. Dave said, not specifically, not her, but like she would fit that category.
Yes, yeah.
And he continued as well, talking about like AEW's economic future being a bit worrisome when you look at ticket sales and like TV ratings on Fridays and Saturdays. He noted that currently the only shows that have strong advances ticket-wise are World's End and bloody Wembley next year, of course. So the rest of AEW shows are struggling to sell tickets in advance, which has contributed to the bad vibes and stuff. I mean, most of this is like objectively true. Like the stuff about the ticket sales, if you look year over year, if you go on WrestleTix, it's right there. They're obviously struggling to shift tickets. Dynamite's TV ratings are generally good, but Collision, sometimes it goes head to head with a WWE pay-per-view and it dies. That's just, WWE crushes it, as it should. It's a pay-per-view. I'm inclined to believe most of this. It sounds logical.
It's funny, I was told AEW's backstage issues would be fixed when they got rid of the Punker. But, no, look, I understand this. Look, there's a general malaise with regards to AEW. Jeff Hardy yesterday was talking about feeling like a ghost.
Matt Hardy at the weekend was like, I'm frustrated.
You just pick a... Sometimes it's pick a wrestler in AEW, check their liked tweets, and they're probably not best pleased. Because like you say, they could create a whole nother AEW show with all the talent they aren't using on Dynamite, Collision, or Ring of Honor. They shouldn't do that, by the way, Tony, but they could, in theory. And yeah, it's one of those. It was the land of sunshine and rainbows. It was the alternative, and then things change. They've signed deals for stuff, and it's a business still at the end of the day. With all the best intentions, I don't know what you do to fix this. We saw last year or a couple of years ago with problems backstage within WWE. This is not something that you just go, been fixed overnight, guys.
Yeah, AEW, unfortunately, fortunately, doesn't have a creep billionaire owner like with a history of really bad stuff. The whole thing's weird. Like, Collision last week is a good example of the dichotomy here, because that was an excellent episode of TV that only 2,000 people wanted to go and watch live. So that it's just not a hot product. Objectively, it's not a hot product. Even if you enjoy the weekly product, which I do, it's not generating buzz and all of this stuff. You know what I would do first thing? Legitimately, anyone who doesn't want to be there, off you go.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be working there and you'd rather be somewhere else, if I'm the boss, I don't think there's much to benefit from keeping them around. I understand the concept of letting people walk to the other company and all of this. But if they're causing problems backstage and you've got people who legitimately don't want to be there, you're not going to turn that frown upside down. Let them go. Just say, hey, would you like your release? Okay, good. Because then it's not like you're not swinging the axe.
No, you're not we're not saying fire anymore.
Yeah, you're not firing people. You're giving people who want to leave the option to do that, which they should always have the opportunity to do so. If wrestling is going to classify the people who perform it as independent contractors, it cannot hold them to the terms of employees. They should have that freedom.
Yeah.
And if there's poisonous backstage presences in this company, whoever they may be, they should be allowed to leave, in my opinion. But let us know what you think down below.
Yeah, how would you fix backstage morale?
I'm sure we're going to get called grifters or whatever because we're aggregating a negative story about something. But like, how would you kind of turn this around?
Yeah, tell you what I'd do.
Yeah.
Bring Ken Shamrock in, which is exactly what WWE appears to have done. At least they've signed him to a new WWE deal, potentially a Legends contract. You may have seen a load of new merch for Ken Shamrock on WWE Shop. Mike Johnson of PW Insider reporting all this. No word on whether or not, obviously, WWE's new parent company, Endeavour and Shamrock, sparked a new relationship. But some form of agreement clearly has to have been made. I love me some Ken Shamrock.
Okay.
I hope we see him back in the ring, to be honest, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Ken Shamrock kicks ass.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird. It's so strange. Like, there's like 15 t-shirts for Ken Shamrock suddenly on WWE Shop. You're like, what the hell?
I want him to come out and cut that Tito Ortiz, I'm going to beat you into the living death promo. And someone has to kick a chair in the air.
God damn it, Ken. Ken was like on TV as recently as wrestling, as recently as like early 2022 or 2021 for Impact. So, hey, why not? Why not get that Lion's Den fired up, brother?
I seem to remember a few years ago we had the opportunity to interview Ken Shamrock at WrestleCon, and I was very much like, you take it, Miller.
Yeah.
I'm really scared of that dude.
The book is really good. The book that Mr. Snowden wrote the other year. Like, strong recommendation, the Shamrock biography.
I've not read that, yeah.
It's fantastic. One of the best wrestling books I think I've ever read.
Really intriguing character, isn't he?
A completely insane life story.
Yeah.
Like, absurd. The UFC stuff, the pancreas stuff, like... Oh my God!
The Shamrock family, let's not forget, in MMA
There's
as well.
so many Shamrocks, man.
Yeah.
Frank.
That's wild. God, yeah, I'm going to read that. I'm going to ask for that for Christmas.
Ryan, of course, who was a legitimate Shamrock.
Yes.
There's all kinds of silliness involved there. So yeah, check that book out if you read.
But nice that they've got a relationship, and yeah, go and get yourself some Ken Shamrock merch for Christmas.
Hell yeah, I want like the world's most dangerous man across a hoodie or something.
Such a badass.
Crazy. Let's talk. What am I doing now? House shows.
From Ken Shamrock to house shows.
House shows. He's going to be working house shows. No.
Yes.
There might be some more cuts coming to house shows. Now, I'll go over the stuff here before diving into some more other things. What a terrible sentence. I will go over the stuff here before diving into some more other things.
Dave Meltzer write that one for you.
I've been on YouTube for like 6 years. What the hell? Right. Rewind, cancel it. This is coming from WrestleNomics.
Yes.
Aggregating some stuff that was said by TKO, which is the new co that merged WWE and UFC.
Yes.
TKO COO Mark Shapiro, who was speaking.
A lot of O's in there.
There is a lot of O's. Who was speaking at a UBS media conference earlier this week. Right, and there's a lot of corporate speak in this, but we're going to break it down for you. Well, there's a reason to have them because it's good for the brand, house shows. We're building an audience, we're putting them in C and D counties, so we're really stretching the brand and we're amassing a great array of eyeballs from all demos, so it's good for our long-term growth. Here's my favorite sentence in this. Through a margin perspective, they are dilutive.
I hate business
Corporate
speak, man.
It's wild. So there's a probability, probably an opportunity as we go forward, as we go through our efficiencies and our synergy opportunities to cut back on some of those non-televised events while we push our margin up. So we're going through that exercise now. Basically, when he says it's dilutive to flipping whatever that nonsense he came out of his mouth was, it loses money.
Yes.
Is what he's trying to say. Or they put on these things and it doesn't add anything to the bottom line. So this continues the trend of recent years. in like 2018, 19, and the beginning of 2020, actually running house shows came at a loss for WWE, so it was kind of pointless doing them from an economic perspective.
They were like, oh, thank goodness for the pandemic.
Yeah, well, it's flipping the one thing. It's like, okay, we can...
I'd never realised this until people pointed out, when they were like, they've saved loads of money because they don't have to do house shows.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
That's how they became like record-breakingly rich, that and the TV deals. Jeez. It was like, we don't have to go on the road anymore. Nowadays, they do roughly half the amount of house shows they used to. They only usually do them on the weekends. They've got special names, I can't remember them.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Saturday Slam or something like that. Sundays Smokehouse, I don't know. But they've cut way back. It sounds like they might consider doing that again. It's a bit of a bummer if you're in these markets and you enjoy going to the shows, and it comes at a time when TV tapings and pay-per-views ticket sales are through the freaking roof, which is ironic for us to say in this building. I'm talking about roofs. But yeah, there you go. That's the word.
Yeah, it's one of those, I'm conflicted on this because of the exact reason. Like you say, a mate of mine randomly texted me saying that he lives in Nottingham, shout out to Sparky, and he said, oh, I'm going to a WWE show tonight, and they had like EO Sky and people like that there. And I love that. I love the occasion of just like, oh, WWE's in town. It's not a SmackDown, it's not a Raw, it's not an NXT. It's just a show. It's just quite fun. You can go with your mates, you can go with your family, that sort of thing. And especially, like you say, in those areas that aren't necessarily visited regularly, especially in the States, by WWE. But on the other hand, if it's losing the money, then obviously it makes sense financially to cut back. I don't need all that blue sky EOD bollocks.
Diluting the synergies.
Yeah, we can just circle back to that and really what a
place it on the horizontal vertical between the Engelbarb and the Garble Booble.
And I also think that wrestlers have enough of a bad time bumping all over the place on a regular weekly schedule that I when it was like, they work 6 days a week and get 1 day at home with their family and they're all really banged up. I don't necessarily think I'm gonna argue for more of that sort of thing. Yeah,
there you go. Every aspect of the argument covered. Boom.
Speaking of arguments, Ric Flair in AEW. Tony Khan has sort of gone into the intricacies of his deal, especially surrounding the whole woo energy thing. Basically saying that actually he's effectively paying AEW, or someone is, for Ric Flair to appear on AEW television. He spoke with the New York Post's Joseph
Strzelecki?
Thank you. He said, we're not paying Ric Flair. Ric Flair is essentially paying us. We're getting paid by Woo Energy for all of his appearances, so we're collecting revenue from them. With his talent contract, yes, obviously, an AEW source said this is a separate deal, and Flair is compensated for that work. But effectively what they're saying is, whatever we're paying Rick, it's far superseded by the money that they make from Woo Energy, which is obviously what you see on like either side of the entranceway. I don't think it necessarily justifies having Ric Flair there, to be perfectly honest, but I know that's a divisive opinion.
Yeah. I mean, this to me sounds kind of like, well, I'm not paying him, so although they kind of are. It's just the amount that they're bringing in from the sponsorship is more than the thing.
They don't need this money.
No, well, maybe they do. Who knows? Nobody knows how much.
I suppose if you want to keep it a legitimate business, keeping its. But they've got water. Ridiculous amounts of money.
They're billionaires. So who knows? No one knows how much profit or loss AEW. We know they make a lot of revenue, but who the heck knows if they're even profitable? Nobody knows. It's when you see people online going, they're making a loss. It's like, you don't know that.
You don't know anything.
But you also don't know it because they're not publicly traded. No. So people have opinions on things they know nothing about, which is quite ironic, us two saying that. But no, like the Ric Flair thing, I think that the conversations are extremely valid, they're being had. I think the only real, people there've been reports like, oh, they want to get the ratings up and stuff, and it's like, I don't really think that Ric Flair's adding to ratings in 2023, and the things he's been accused of are disgusting and repulsive, and of course...
And then he's still doing promos like he did on Rampage.
Yeah, which was, fortunately, they had the foresight to cut that and stuff, but it's going to be an ongoing thing, and then he takes that little strop like last week when he's going, well, if you don't want me here, I'll just quit. And then which seemed to me to just be like, hey, praise me, other wrestlers. I'm Ric Flair.
You can simultaneously be a legend of the business and also not necessarily needed in 2023.
Straight up, I think Ric Flair is the greatest professional wrestler of all time. I also don't think he should be in AEW given the weight of the allegations made against him.
Yeah, the question is, I think, would we be as bothered if Tony Khan hadn't been there going, oh, Vince has done all this stuff and then immediately did it. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But the question is, okay, well, all right, another controversial wrestler comes out with a new energy bar that offers to sponsor the show. Do they get signed as well? Because, well...
Yeah, this is it. There's a Sting aspect, isn't there? It's like he's his mate and all of this.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
Like, it was quite fun. Like, I love Sting, but it was so funny when he was doing that retirement promo where he was listing all his cancelled mates. like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. It's like, Stinger, no, brother. But, yeah, there's that aspect to consider as well. But for me, it's outweighed. It is outweighed.
Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Jake King, who says, if you could bring anybody back at the Rumble for a Mania run, who would you bring back and who do they feud with? Personally, I'd bring back the person with the best styles clash in the business, Michelle McCool, and have a feud with Rhea Ripley.
So you know we're all about taking real life heat and making it into a storyline, right? And there's one guy who's really good at that, and he just happens to be back in AEW. You want to keep his nose clean, you want to keep him out of trouble, you want to put him in programs where he's not going to have backstage flare-ups, and that means that the only option for CM Punk at WrestleMania is Ryback. His Ryback.
I'm coming out of retirement.
Let's find out who really is dumb as F.
Yeah.
And settle it once and for all. I'm sure they won't bicker backstage. I'm sure there'll be no problems whatsoever. It'd be great.
I'd have at the Royal Rumble, Gunther defeats Chad Gable. Sorry, Chad, I actually do want him to dethrone Gunther. But defeats him and says at the show, there's no one left. I've beaten everybody. And then guess who comes out in the Rumble? Ken Shamrock!
The real greatest Intercontinental champion.
And then, oh my God, Ken Shamrock versus Gunther. Jesus Christ.
5 minutes in the Lions Den because Ken's 59.
Oh, you get DC, can't they, to do the refereeing again? Forget the result. What are we doing here?
DC had a great time. He had a great time,
yeah, I
didn't
love
he?
DC,
He's a lovely man. But that was some performance.
Alabama Slim, speaking of the Rumble, actually, Alabama Slim said, Dakota Kai said in an interview a few months back that she could be cleared in January. Could she possibly come back at the Rumble and attack Bayley, furthering Bayley's face turn?
I think she might be aligned with Bayley. If you are heading down the route of Bayley getting kicked out of Damage Control, you probably need someone to even the odds a little bit, right? Because otherwise it's just Bayley getting the crap kicked out of her by 3 people.
Yeah.
So you probably want an equalizer. I would probably keep Dakota babyface, but she has done some great turns in the past, so...
I think, by the way, I think the attack on Bayley's coming, before the Royal Rumble.
I think so too.
I think they might keep Dakota with Damage Control just as the mouthpiece, regardless of... I'd love to see her back in the ring anytime soon, but it makes sense, obviously, with the stars you've got as part of that group to have Dakota there cutting promos for him. I think, Bayley's going to get taken out probably before the end of the year. I think she's going to come back at the Rumble, and then we're going to get the Bayley buddies back at WrestleMania.
You reckon she's going to roll into the Rumble?
I think she's going to...
Hey?
Hang on. We're going to see this at WrestleMania. Where's the switch?
Get rolled, bitch.
Where is the switch?
I don't.
Batteries falling out now.
What have you... Oh, cheesy peeps. I hope they can hear how pathetic that sounds.
And the face is the wrong way around. There you go.
Can I
Sorry,
roll the
everybody.
microphone?
Oh, we got one more question. I just realised.
Sugar, I thought we were ending the video. Okay.
Okay, final question. Oh, the battery's falling out. Jason says, hello, best journalist Adam Wilborn, the only journalist, and the bald one, Andy Murray.
Rude.
Everything about the Devil's character in AEW reminds me of... Yes,
Thanks.
Lights go out, men in skin-tight suits and interfering with production. Would Mustafa Ali make sense to be the devil?
He could also be the hacker if you want to.
Yeah, because they have to hack in as well, don't they?
Who was it that tweeted that during the Devil Angle? Was it Corey Graves? The Devil Angle was going on Dynamite last week, and Corey Graves tweeted "Retribution?" ? I think that is a cursed comparison, my friend, and I would not do that personally.
Yeah, I love Mustafa Ali, but I'd keep him as far away as possible from this sort of thing. Just bring him in as a mint wrestler. I will say I am, and we're talking about it later on the Dynamite Preview podcast, WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcast from. I am fascinated by this match tonight. You are fighting 2 masked men who clearly work with and know who the devil is. Why don't you just unmask them as soon as the match starts?
This is it. Like, it's kind of a farce if MJF and Joe just don't go whink, like straight away, right? Like, me and Hamlet were talking this morning. You imagine the absurdity if the bell rings and pardon me, freaking devil number one slaps on the head, sends him to the ropes, back he comes, little shoulder block. Like, you can't do that.
God. I just rip the mask off and have it be Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd, because I book them in everything for me.
Yeah, they're the best.
And you'd never be able to get the answers out of them.
Yeah, his sports class. I love them so much.
If you're anything like me, you know who I am. God, I love the Outrunners.
That tweet Turbo Floyd did when he went, I was feeling under the weather, so I went to the hospital and the nurse diagnosed me with a case of OCD. One cool dude. And then Truth Magnum showed up. And I was like, oh my god, this is the first ever case of two cool dudes.
The Outrunners rule, and more on the Devil tonight on Dynamite.
Check this one out. Bye.
Peace.